So in October of 2020, I was poking around on Google Maps and I found a landmark called the Point Reyes Shipwrecks. Since then, I've been planning and planning and planning and trying to figure out how I would actually get there from where I live. So today, join me as I adventure to the Point Reyes Shipwrecks. So the first train that I'm going to take today is Caltrain's 804 Limited number 221, which, true to form, is already running late. Alright, at Millbrae, time to catch a BART train to Civic Center. Civic Center BART. Next, to make a transfer to Golden Gate Transit's Route 101. Spent about 10 minutes waiting at Civic Center. As soon as I stepped out of the station, I saw a fight taking place, so not out of the ordinary. There's only one other person on this bus with me, and this bus has free Wi-Fi and power outlets, so I'm pretty happy for the next 50 minutes or so until I get into San Rafael. Oh my god, it's the bridge, oh my god, it's the bridge. And over here we have the beautiful San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. Very beautiful indeed. Part of the North Bay is that they have these highway bus stops where it's just the bus stop on the highway and the bus pulls over to the side and stops. There's only one example of this in the Bay Area as far as I know, in San Mateo on Highway 101 and 3rd. I just thought it was something interesting to point out here in the North Bay. Well, made it to San Rafael Transit Center in San Rafael. Now I've got about 30 minutes before my next bus, the Route 68, which will take me to Inverness. So it turns out this bus isn't a minibus like I expected. It's actually a rather medium-sized bus. We're stopped at Fairfax here for another 4 minutes before we continue our journey onwards towards Inverness. The bus started out with quite a few people on board. I think there were maybe 5 or 6 with me. They mostly got off as the route continued. And now it's just me and one other lady on our way to Inverness.
This is Inverness. Sir Francis Drake Avenue.
So after a very bumpy hour and a half, I made it to Inverness, which is very far north from San Rafael. As I said, it took me an hour and a half. We were just bouncing through the hilly roads. It's really nice how I got to watch the landscape change from the urbanized San Rafael into just this, rural sort of area. I was the only one on the bus after, I think it was Woodacre, and that was, it was nice. Bus driver was a nice guy, but I guarantee you he thinks that I'm crazy because today is Wednesday, I'm in the middle of nowhere, and I'm questioning him about the schedule, and every time like the bus stops for more than a minute. Other than that, it was a really nice ride. Tired bus starts shaking like it's gonna fall apart as soon as we hit over 50 miles an hour. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I imagine patronage is much higher on weekends because this route also serves like Olema campgrounds and the Point Reyes Park. But today it was just me. So I've got an hour here and I've arrived at what I came to see, the Point Reyes Shipwreck. So as you can see up there, Point Reyes Shipwreck is just a little shipwrecked ship, I guess, on a sand spit here. It's rather famous. There's people there, which is kind of surprising because it's a Wednesday, but whatever. So I'm not exactly familiar with the lore behind this boat. A quick Google when I get home will answer that question. But I do know that since this is on private property, the owner does request that people treat it with respect and not like light it on fire or litter. So that's just what I've been doing, not littering or lighting it on fire. It's very famous with photographers, I believe. I first heard about this boat in an Instagram post back in October, and I realized I wanted to go visit it. And once I realized that I could actually take the bus to this place, that was when I began planning my trip. And here it is, what I came to see. The Point Reyes Shipwreck. So Inverness just strikes me as one of those tiny North California towns where everyone knows each other. I was just rather surprised that it was in a place that I could get to on the bus. I mean, it still took me like 4 hours, but whatever. Okay, I walked northwards a bit, but looks like this road is for the cars. So I now have about 20 minutes left before my bus departs. There's a small beach up there that I'm just gonna go sit on for a little bit, I guess. Well, I guess this is as beachy as it gets for Northern California. Well, after a rather nice hour spent here, it's time to say goodbye to Inverness and hop on that same bus for another hour and a half back to San Rafael. See, it's interesting, on weekdays, it's almost hourly service with a break at 1. And on weekends, it's almost hourly with some 2-hour gaps in the middle. Really making me wonder about the kind of patronage it normally gets on non-pandemic days. Well, 4 hours later, I'm back at San Rafael, and yeah, the return journey, I was the only person between Inverness and Point Reyes, and then at Point Reyes station, a lady got on and got off in the park. After that, it was some school kids got on and got off, and yeah. We were running about 10 minutes late, so my hour and a half ride turned into more like an hour and 40 minutes, so starting to get a little sore. So now I'm at the SMART station waiting for a SMART train to take me up the line 2 stops to Novato Hamilton, where I can then bounce back on another SMART train down to Larkspur, where I can then connect to the ferry that'll take me to San Francisco, which will then take me to Caltrain home. Man, it's been a while since I last took a SMART train. I'd forgotten how smooth the ride was. It was just so nice, especially after sitting on that bumpy bus for the better part of an hour and 40 minutes. Yeah, definitely liked it. It had a free power outlet, so I was able to charge up my phone a little bit. Also free Wi-Fi at the station. So side note, if your transit agency has either power outlets or free Wi-Fi, I will sing praises about it until I die. Um, yeah, I just really liked Smart. It's a great example of how to use DMUs in diesel multiple units in a good commuter rail setting. My only complaint is that it kind of serves only like the Sonoma Airport to San Rafael or Larkspur kind of corridor. It's not very well connected with the ferry right now or other bus services. For example, from where I live in like near Palo Alto, it's pretty hard to make a good connection with the Smart train, especially considering that they're running so infrequently right now. And yeah, also when I go catch the ferry today, I'll have a wait of like over an hour, I think. No, not over an hour. Of exactly an hour from between when the train gets into the station and when the ferry actually departs. In my opinion, that should be fixed, you know, like, but yeah, other than that, I just really like the railway, the train line itself. For up to me, I'd be taking the train all the way to the airport right now, but as it is, time constraints. So I was last at this train station on Christmas Eve of 2018, I think, and before then the Smart extension to Larkspur hadn't been built yet, so today I get to ride on that for the first time.
For inspection when asked by the train conductor. Thank you for choosing Smart.
On our way to Larkspur.
Arriving, Larkspur Station. Thank you for choosing Smart.
So arrived at Larkspur Station, the new terminal for Smart trains. Yeah, it just seems like a normal Smart station, basic amenities. And now I gotta make my way to the ferry terminal. I still have about an hour before the next ferry departs for San Francisco. Although I suppose it's a good thing that I have an hour here because the ferry terminal is all the way over there. Alright, next stop, the ferry. So, walking along the path from the Smart station to the ferry terminal brings you to this bridge, which was formerly the Northwestern Pacific. Carried the tracks to Sausalito, and then onwards ferries would take it to San Francisco. It's all stopped now, obviously. But here the bridge remains, permanently in opposition. Okay, yeah, not gonna lie, the walk from Larkspur Smart Station to the ferry terminal just seems very badly designed. It gives like SoCal vibes, you know, the new sort of projects where there's a lot of road infrastructure, and there is bike and pedestrian infrastructure, but it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of like an afterthought and very segregated. But yeah, I've been walking for like 15, 20 minutes maybe, or it's probably not that long, but you know, everything seems longer. And I'm almost at the terminal, but I do think it would be very easy to get lost if like you didn't know where you were going, or if you had a tight connection to make between Smart trains. Like, I think in the schedule they need at least 20 minutes buffer between the train's arrival and the ferry's departure, and that's just not that just doesn't make a good connection. Like, there's no point at that point. Might as well just hop on the bus and get here faster. See, the bus stop here is very well connected to the ferry terminal. It's like you get off the ferry and then you're right there. But the train connection, you know, walk 20 minutes, get lost. Man, prepping for the ferry's arrival. The amount of infrastructure that goes into ferries and ferry terminals around here is honestly staggering. On the ferry, so this is my crib for the next 50 minutes or so. Should be a nice ride to San Francisco. And passing by San Quentin State Prison. Windows are dirty as hell. So, hopped off the Larkspur ferry, an enjoyable ride. It's one of, I think, 6 or 7 different ferries I can get on from here using my Clipper card. There was like a decent amount of people for a pandemic, I suppose. There were more getting on than getting off out of San Francisco, that's for sure. So next up is to get back to the Caltrain station so I can take my train home. And there goes one of the new AC Transit double-decker buses. I gotta get a ride on one of those someday. So, uncharacteristic mean faction dropped me off at the train station with, I think I had 1 minute to make my train. So as soon as the doors opened, sprinted to the station, tacked in with my Clipper card, and made it right before the conductors closed the doors, so. If I hadn't run for it, I wouldn't have made it. Yeah, now I'm on the 5:44 train home. Well, I'm back at Palo Alto, so thanks for joining me on my adventure to the shipwrecks, and I'll see you next time.